It goes without saying that 2020 has been a bit of a tricky year for all of us. The professional wrestling business has seen its product hit hard by audience-free programming since spring, and the conduct of some companies has come under fire for its treatment of employees during such difficult circumstances. And even without that, there have been the usual baffling booking decisions and mismanagement of talent. We're looking at you, Retribution. Amid the mayhem, however, some stars have managed to make lemonade out of 2020's particularly sour batch of lemons, and have the finest years of their careers. New stars have broken through or continued to ascend. Veterans have finally found the gimmick to push them over the edge, or have been given the shot they deserve at the big time. And some performers approaching the twilight of their careers have even freshened things up for the new decade. I'm Gareth from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 wrestlers who are enjoying a career best year in 2020. Number 10, Jon Moxley. Vince McMahon's loss has been Tony Khan's gain. Dean Ambrose was clearly a star when on WWE's books, but a mixture of company apathy and goofy storylines sent the once and future Jon Moxley scurrying for pastures new. The moment he arrived in AEW, a rocket was strapped to him, and he has repaid their belief with some of the best performances in his career. 2019 saw wild brawls with the likes of Kenny Omega. In 2020 though, he has been focused on the title, and as the face of the company, he has barely put a foot wrong. His program with Chris Jericho was fantastic on the mic and in the ring, and as the holder of the belt, he has put on clinics with MJF, Darby Allin, Brody Lee, and Eddie Kingston. Moxley's excellence has been well recognized, with Pro Wrestling Illustrated naming him the best pro wrestler of 2020 in their annual roundup. With his grit, charisma, and grasp of character, it's tough to argue with that, so I will not. Number 9, Randy Orton. At the start of 2020, the idea of seeing Randy Orton with a world title strapped once more around his muscular waist was enough to send a shiver down the spine of most hardcore fans. His work in the ring, and particularly in his angle with old partner and rival Edge, however, has made his recent win over Drew McIntyre much more palatable. Edge's return was a source of sheer joy, and it took an uber heel like Orton to take the shine off it. Rated RKO briefly teased a reunion before the Viper, as is his wont, booted Edge in the head. They had a bit of a dull WrestleMania bout, it must be said, but their headliner at Backlash was a barn burner, if not the greatest wrestling match ever that was advertised. He brought back the legend killer gimmick to devastating effect, delivering further punt kicks to the noggins of Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, and Christian. His feud with Drew McIntyre has been hugely beneficial for both men too, with a fun ambulance match definitely the highlight. Whether Randy needed another shot with the title is a fair question, but 2020 has seen an impressive revival of a veteran character. Number 8, Tessa Blanchard. 2020 has been nothing if not eventful for the third-generation star. Tessa Blanchard stepped down from Impact in somewhat acrimonious fashion after going AWOL during the current global bastard, and accusations of unsavory behavior have dogged her for much of her recent career. That aside, she also became the first woman in history to win Impact's world title at January's Hard to Kill event, blowing off a superb intergender feud with Sami Callihan in the process. Number 7, MJF. It's incredible to think that Maxwell Jacob Friedman is just 24 years old. At the rate he's going, it won't be long before he's the business's greatest pure heel, and there's a strong argument to be made that he's probably already there. MJF is the full package. His promo work is unquestionable, and in those much missed days in which fans could watch wrestling, remember that, he played off them magnificently. The man has a steel backbone, steadfastly refusing to break his belligerent character in the face of serious hatred from crowds. He's no slouch in the ring either. His program with Cody picked up in 2020, including the memorable scene in which the AEW Vice President received 10 lashes in exchange for a match. He had a technical classic with Jungle Boy and a cracker against Jon Moxley, with whom he will likely be feuding plenty going forward. And that's not even taking into account Le Dîner Debonair, a divisive segment that showed off Friedman's funny bone and surprising singing voice. Put simply, this guy is the future of the business. Number 6. Rhea Ripley. Each of Rhea Ripley's subsequent years with WWE has been better than the one that came before it. In 2017, she competed in the Mae Young Classic. In 2018 and 2019, she was grabbing the top women's belt in NXT, first in the UK and then in the US. In 2020, not only did she appear in her first WrestleMania match, but alongside Charlotte Flair, she stole the damn show. WrestleMania 36 was, of course, a hugely weird event, but no one rose above the weirdness better than Ripley and Flair. The two women's styles were hugely complementary, and they put on a technical masterclass in a match that few would have pegged as a show stealer beforehand. With Flair winning the NXT Women's Championship, the stage was set for the two to renew hostilities on the black and gold brand, and they put on a great triple threat clash with Io Shirai at the revived In Your House event. It can only be a matter of time before Ripley is called up to the main roster, where there's no doubt she'd absolutely flourish. She has been more than the equal of every challenge placed in front of her so far, with her recent battles against Mercedes Martinez and Raquel Gonzalez both impressing too, and she should be a big business for WWE in the future. Number 5. Drew McIntyre. Royal Rumble 2020 will be remembered for two things: the return of the rated R superstar Edge and Drew McIntyre's well-deserved win. While the former has had a year to forget, Drew's 2020 has been nothing short of stellar. He beat Brock Lesnar convincingly at WrestleMania, and his title run was one of the best in recent years. Drew was well protected as champion too, and never looked anything less than convincing. He had good to great matches with Seth Rollins and Randy Orton, and while he has since lost the belt, he looks set to remain in the main event picture. It's nothing short of tragic that Drew didn't get to do all this before a baying crowd, but he took the empty arena era in his stride. Next time he grabs the gold, here's hoping it's in a packed arena, safely of course. Number 4. Io Shirai. NXT has long boasted one of the finest women's divisions in all of wrestling, and in Io Shirai they seem to have discovered their next major star. The Japanese grappler is well over a decade into her career, but 2020 has seen her take a major step in NXT, a company in which she has steadily been building her profile over the past 3 years. It started so badly too. In January, Shirai took a bump which put her on the shelf for 2 months. She then came back with a point to prove, and quickly established herself as the #1 contender for Charlotte's championship, in a cracking ladder match against 5 of NXT's top female talent. Her match with Flair and Rhea Ripley at In Your House was a hard-hitting joy, and upon clinching the belt, Shirai has been absolutely unstoppable, a true fighting champion. Her feud with Candice LeRae in particular has been great viewing, headlining NXT's delightful revival of Halloween Havoc. Number 3. Roman Reigns. Turn Roman heel, they said. We're booing him anyway, just make him a bad guy. The internet wrestling community loves to shout up ideas, but often it's just not as simple as turning a star heel. Sometimes though, well, it is. Heel Roman has been a revelation. He disappeared from our screens when the global health crisis first struck, and seemingly turned to the dark side in his absence. His eventual re-emergence at SummerSlam was a shock, but oh my, was it a welcome one. We feared that slapping the Universal Championship straight on him would be a huge mistake. Well, it wasn't. Roman's feud with cousin Jey Uso has been by far his finest work as a singles competitor, with 2 hard-hitting matches and incredibly effective promos, turning the angle into must-see television. He also has Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece, but he's become so assured on the stick that he isn't actually that necessary. It will now be fascinating to see how live fans react to the new Roman Reigns, but there's no denying he has us truly gripped at this moment in time. Number 2. Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy's gimmick is a bit of a risky one. His shtick is pretty basic. He dresses like a slacker and doesn't do an awful lot, before occasionally showing off his impressive athleticism, often with hands thrust deeply in pockets. In the wrong hands, this could be comedy wrestling at its most unbearable. The commitment and charisma of Cassidy, however, means that the act remains charming and hilarious, and his crowd responses have been among the loudest heard in AEW to date. His His match with Pac at Revolution was a show stealer, completely different to anything else on the card. His 2020 became even better though when he began a program with Chris Jericho, a perfect opponent for the laid-back wrestler. Jericho and Cassidy both have their characters completely down, and their matches have been an absolute joy to watch. The Mimosa Mayhem bout at All Out was precisely what we needed in the empty arena era, and at this point Cassidy can, well, do no wrong really. He's among the most consistently entertaining wrestlers on TV without even trying. Number 1, Bayley. Some performers have struggled working in empty arenas. Others have rolled with the punches. Bayley, among a handful of others, has thrived. Paired with Sasha Banks also having a great 2020, she has been one of the finest heels in the business. Gobby, opportunistic, and deliriously entertaining. Bayley just never shuts up. That's the key to her success though. She never lets the ominous feeling of the massive empty venue become an issue by nattering on constantly. Even before the Thunderdome smoothed over some of the creases, you knew you were in safe hands with Bayley. The slow build towards the eventual demolition of her friendship with Banks exhibited a patience rarely seen in modern WWE. And when the pair did split, their match immediately turned into the most must-watch clash the company had to offer. Their Hell in a Cell showdown didn't disappoint either. Bayley has now lost her SmackDown Women's Championship, but a performer of her caliber is never going to be far from the title picture. More than anyone else, she has proven herself to be completely irreplaceable this year. So, we salute you, Bayley, a true role model. And that's our list. Know of any other wrestlers who are enjoying a career best year in 2020? Let us know all about them in the comments section below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button. Also, make sure you go and head on over to whatculture.com and click on some more awesome articles just like the one this video is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon.